Wow, it's Thursday already. Family Matters with Kevin Petersen. I'm Jay Staples. Kevin, how are you doing?
All things considered, Jay, my friend, I am doing incredibly well. There's a 127,000 square acre fire about 20 miles that way. and
Oh,
that's
really?
that's a lot too close. I mean, it's not
Wow.
in threat or jeopardy, but it's a little closer than I'm comfortable with.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's a big deal.
I was up in Wisconsin and UP in Michigan, actually, so closer to the Canada border. But I mean, for the last, I don't know, month or something, the air quality because of the Canada fires or something like that is like uh, a concern. We'll just say that. So those wildfires, they're no joke. I've never been around it. So,
Yeah, no, it's think about those things as they move fast. You know, you're breaking up on me pretty bad.
am I there?
Let's see. Give it about 10 seconds.
We good? We good? We good? Check, check, check.
No, it's not working.
Really? We've hopefully we get. Am I still breaking up?
Yep.
Wow. Let me.
You want some food?
Feeding your dog. How was this?
Oh my God. Like night and day.
Really?
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. Sorry. Bert started jumping around. So we got to take care of the man here. All right. Try again.
Well, let's just try this. You know what? Nashville. Can never trust Nashville.
All right. What's going on, Jay? How we doing today, buddy?
Too many visitors coming to Nashville, stealing all of our Wi-Fi signals, I guess. But
I'm telling you, those people, those people, damn Californians.
Jesus. Oh my God. Alrighty. Let's we do the Family Matters show to the best of our ability as we're showing this morning. And we answer the questions more often than not. No one really wants to ask, so we get them to ask it and we answer. We do our best to kind of stump Kevin, but call Kevin Petersen my family whisperer. So let's get right into it. And so she said I watched many of your shows, but especially last week's show. You guys talked about it only takes one person to make a change within the family, just one person. What if I'm that one person and no one else wants to hold any boundaries?
I get it. I totally get it.
That's a really good question.
Yeah, because that was my experience with my mom. My dad and my sister were like, yeah, we're not. My dad was like, kiss my ass. And my sister's like, I don't have the time or the energy or the effort. I'm raising two children here. So I think the important thing is you just got to be true to yourself. It's important for you to speak up. It's important for you to say how you feel. It's important for you to say, hey, I'm not okay with this. I love you and I'm not okay with this. And you may be the only person saying it. And that's okay. Because it's about you speaking your truth, and I know that's hard. Trust me. I know that's hard, but that's like the critical thing there is you have to be the one that's willing to speak the truth. And history has shown that the people that speak the truth sometimes, get ostracized, and that's okay. But at least you can sleep at night knowing that you've spoken your truth and you've said what's what. And that's, at the end of the day, so now we're talking about individual recovery, okay? At the end of the day, I had to be able to sleep at night. I wasn't just going to stand back and watch my mom do whatever she was doing with her prescription drug addiction. And I had a great Al-Anon sponsor who was like, look, just tell your truth. Tell your truth. And then if nobody responds or nobody's interested, it doesn't mean you have to spend all day with them. You can limit your time with them. You don't have to suffer and sit there and watch something that you're not comfortable with. So I would say, take care of yourself, see a therapist, work on your own stuff, maybe find a 12-step program that works for you. Codependence Anonymous, Adult Children of Alcoholics, probably Al-Anon. And do your own work, because here's what's going to happen. You're going to get better. And they're going to see that. And then someone else in the family is going to be like, that person's getting better and they're not miserable and they're not dealing with this. I want that. And but somebody has to step up to the plate first. And that person generally gets a few lumps, to be honest with you. We had a therapist when I was a kid as a family therapist, and this woman said, Kevin's the flag waver. He's the guy that's like, this isn't right. Something's wrong. Nobody's paying attention. And she's, I was like 14 or 15, maybe 16. And she's like, they're going to come after you for that. But, you got to be able to speak your truth. So that's the answer.
You're right. And, more often than not, I've seen it happen all the time. Those people do you call them lumps, but there's a lot of courage attached to the one, especially if you're all alone within this family dynamic, because reality is like what we're trying to kind of outline. And what I remind myself often is, the person's addiction is one thing. It's not the only thing. It seems to probably be the only family topic because they're using that, to overshadow all the other drama going on.
You got it. So, and, one of the things I am kind of famous for saying, and it sounds a little ghoulish, but when you go to the funeral, do you want to be the people that were like, I had no idea, or I can't believe this happened? Or are you going to be the person that was like, well, I tried, I spoke my piece, I spoke my truth, and nobody listened, So, that's the big question, right? Is that how do you want to play this? So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so another long email, but we'll just I'll label it down as in the theme here is, are we giving up on someone? So let's just, if they cut them off, or if they're living at home and they even outline your kind of need to do certain things, check marks, and if they're not doing that, asking them to leave the house seems to be the right next step.
Yep.
The overriding theme is that, are we giving up on them if we kick them out, cut them off, put some hard boundaries in?
No, you're not giving up on them, because remember, part of the boundary is also saying, hey, we're not, so let's just remember the basics, right? No drugs, no alcohol. You got to become self-supporting, and you got to address your mental health, your hygiene, you got to take care of yourself. And remember, at no point is it, and you better just figure this out all by yourself. It's like, we are willing to help you with these 3 goals. So you are offering them. Now, I'm going to take it for granted that this person's an adult, and adults make their own choices. So they may choose to say, I'm not doing that. That's their choice. You're honoring their choice. And it's not cruel, it's not mean, it's not tough love, that old nonsense, that's crap. And you're not giving up on them, you're actually giving them a choice. You can keep living the way you're living, or you can change, and we'll help you with the process of change. But if you don't want it, that's fine. That's your choice, but you can't do it here, because you're taking all of us with you. And you're actually, the thing about boundaries is that you're actually taking a stand and letting the person know that you love them so much that you want to help them, but until they're ready, you're not going to tolerate their behavior. So, I also have a certificate from Regis University in child and adolescent counseling. And one of the things we would constantly talk about is, boundaries make kids feel safe. When they know that, here's the limit and here's the thing, and that if you violate the limit, there's going to be some sort of consequence to that situation. And I'm not talking about beating on them or anything like that, or, locking them in a closet. But it makes them feel safe because they know that, there's consistency in this lifestyle, in this household. We wake up at the same time, we eat at the same time, we do the same stuff. And that allows kids to grow up and emotionally mature because it's not a chaotic lifestyle. And what you're essentially saying to this adult child, which is what we're talking about, is we're setting a boundary so we can get you back on track. And if you don't want to, that's fine. That's your choice, but you're not going to do it here. So no, you're not giving up on them. It's quite the opposite. You're actually giving them an option.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just got an overriding kind of just feeling like, nothing happens by accident. And when I heard you talking, I think we may not be doing the families. I think we're asking about giving up and asking people to leave or kicking them out. And then their previous talk about, do you want to be at the funeral or the boundaries and so forth. So many families buy into this. If I kick them out or if I put some hard boundaries in and the worst happens or whatever it is, that people will then claim, well, of course, what was he supposed to do? The family turned his back on her, kick. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the biggest
I get it.
That families that I deal with, that people, they never really come out and say it. They buy into what they think people would say about them.
Right. And I totally understand that. And I get that. And the thing is, those people that are saying that have never dealt with this situation. They don't know what it's like to have somebody that's, addicted to drugs or alcohol or struggles mightily with mental health, and that's tearing the family apart. So they don't know, they don't get anyone that's making some sort of snide comment like that, like, well, that's crap. And I know that's hard trust me, I get it.
No, yeah.
Yeah. And I to these families, the woman, whoever sent that email, I completely get it. And I understand. And I agree with everything you're saying and all the concerns that you're having. I just want to tell you, at 34 years sober and 15 years, well, actually 17 years in the mental health world, there's no other way that works. You're not going to rationalize with this person. You're not going to reason with them. Tomorrow morning, they're not going to wake up and be like, oh my God, I have a problem with drugs and alcohol and I need help. It's not going to happen. And I know that you really want it to happen. And I know you really believe it's going to happen all by themselves. And it's not. But what's going to happen is that you are going to tell them, I love you so much that I'm willing to say, until this changes, I can't be around you because you're destroying your life. And I don't want to participate in your suicide. I want to participate in your living, and just make it super clear and loving. And it doesn't have to be angry or punishing or shaming. It's quite the opposite. I love you. I just can't do this anymore. And just be yourself, hold your ground. So yeah, I get it. I totally get it. What will the neighbor say? And trust me, first of all, the neighbors are fully aware of what's going on. Let's just be really clear, with the ambulances and the police cars and all that crap, they know what's up, and so they want you to get help. And hopefully if some friends of yours that have gone through the same thing are maybe circling the wagons with you and saying, hey, let us help you. Let us show you a way out, so.
Well,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a tough one. I mean, I get it. I completely understand. That's a tough one.
No, it's just in general, and it's change. I mean, hey, what we're trying to do is get families to change the ingrained routines, or
Mm-hmm.
going back to wherever. And so, I mean, it's tough, and
Yep.
that's just to me, that's part of it. So, um, we reached Canada, Kevin. We got people in Canada.
Oh my God, you're kidding. We're international?
Yeah.
So we have like 5 listeners now?
So she says, I watched, me and my husband are up in our late 80s. This may not be a pertinent question for you, she said. I think the word pertinent, but so they're talking about post life and leaving wills and so forth, and they're she talks, her husband and I been concerned about their beloved son. He's 51, has shown no sense of wanting to get help. Have you ever come across, she said Kevin, they never say Jay, which is a whole new issue, but
they're emailing you.
I mean, whatever, but it's something. I'm seeing my clinician tomorrow, so maybe it's a topic. But I don't know why I make this all about me. But Kevin, have you ever come across or been asked or worked with families about estate planning, and do you have any resources or ideas around? We'd hate for our son to be left money and only to piss it away, she says.
Yeah, just blow it. So here's my, I mean, do I have resources? No, I'm sorry. That's not my, and I would not feel comfortable giving you advice.
Yeah.
My advice is you should talk to an estate attorney or probated, someone and a financial planner. Because what I can tell you is you can make conditions on the estate, on the, like, let's say the will or whatever, you can say you got to be in school, you got to be sober, and it's your money. You can do whatever the hell you want with it. I mean, Canada's probably different than the United States, but it's you are completely in charge. So don't be shy to say, we know our son's a complete disaster when it comes to drugs and alcohol. So, we are going to insist that he, be sober and have regular drug tests or use a sober link and, participate in therapy and, da, 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 da. And if he does that, then, you can give him a monthly stipend. I mean, you're in charge. It's your money. You can do whatever the hell you want. You don't have to die and just hand him a lottery ticket, or you can put it in the hands of a sibling or something, or an executor. I mean, my wife and I in the last 11 years have lost all 4 of our parents and watched the process evolve and how it works. And trust me, there's every situation was slightly different, and there was always one person who was the executor who was in charge, which is a terrible job. But they had to follow the will. They had to follow the dictates of the paperwork, and the lawyer would just be like, well, this is it, man. This is how it works. And it's just your job to oversee it. So go ahead and make all the conditions you want. I would say, go back and read my book and take a look at the fact that it's no drugs, no alcohol. You have to be either going to school or working or a combination of the two. And you got to be going to therapy and maybe some media and taking care of yourself. And I would say those would be the 3 conditions in order to get the money on a monthly basis. Don't give them a lump sum payout. Trust me, they'll be joining you in heaven quickly. At least I know I would.
Yeah. Well, so I'm 48 years old and coming up on 17 years of sobriety.
Yeah.
And I will say that technically it's still in my parents' will that I do not have access to any money until I turn 50 years old. And, we've always talked about getting that out, and in turn that my 2 brothers would have access to it. They would be saying yes, he gets the money, or no, he's not, or he can, they would be kind of controller of my money post 50, I think, or something like that. And so I kind of lived this out. Like, so the will was drafted obviously previous to 16 years ago, but there's something still about that. I know it doesn't bother me that it's still in the will or whatever, and hopefully I don't, my parents live another 10 years or something, but so I can tell you that it's been in, my parents had to go through it. I mean, they put it in wills. Like, it's not as airtight as you outlined it. And I could tell you that if I was still in active addiction, I would be craving that money and so forth like that. And yeah, thankfully my parents, never talked to you or read your book. A lot of that was just going to fall on my brothers, whether they were going to say yes or no. But they also knew, and, my parents, may not have come out and said it, but, they would have been shocked that if I would have still alive at 50. So, it's out there, and there's a lot of, it can be done, and Kevin is exactly right. So I'll come from the other side of it. Like, if I was in active addiction, it really wouldn't be all that tough to convince my two brothers to give me money. I don't think, who knows, but I like the fact that there's some mile markers or checklist items. If he's actively, throwing away his life, he doesn't need a lump sum of money. But it certainly can be done. I know this is all United States. I don't think Canada's all that different, but yeah, I can tell you, I still live it, and it's a healthy reminder for me to where I've come from. And this is 16 years sobriety, almost 17, but my parents had to go through it. So it's not a unique situation. I'm sure a state lawyer will probably be like, oh yeah, they'll know exactly what you're looking for. So
yeah. And don't be afraid to put conditions. It's okay to say you have to be sober and it has to be verifiable. It's okay to say you got to I don't care if he's 50 years old and working at Starbucks. It doesn't matter to me. I want him working. And it's okay to say, and it's required that you take care of your mental health. You check in with somebody that your hygiene's good, that your mental health is good, that you're taking care of business, and that your bills are getting paid, and because otherwise you're just basically handing them a loaded gun. And it's funny, my grandmother, my dad's mother, Virginia, her family grew up in the Berkeley Hills in California, and her dad, my great grandfather, was a trader between China and Japan at the turn of the 20th century, and very wealthy, had a huge area, which is now a state park. And it had always been kind of like this, family not rumor, but like legend of, oh yeah, your great grandfather, oh my God. And they were all these wealthy, and I was like, well, what the hell happened? Why am I working? Get this bullshit. And I ended up meeting in 2007. I ended up meeting my dad's first cousin, a guy named Buzz, and it was at my dad's 75th birthday party, and I was like, "Hey, Buzz, I have a question for you." And he's like, "Okay, sure." I said, "The legend of your side of the family is," and he's like, "Oh yeah, totally." And he's like, "My aunts and uncles, what they did after the old man died or somewhat early, and they just kept shaving off parts of the estate to pay for their lifestyle." And he's like, "If they hadn't done that, you'd be a multimillionaire." I'm like, and I was telling a friend of mine, and she was like, "Kevin, you'd be dead. There's no doubt in my mind that you would be dead." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're right." But I still think about it. But there's nothing wrong. I mean, the worst thing you can do to an active alcoholic or an addict is hand them an unlimited supply of money. Because you're basically signing their death warrant. So don't be. It's okay. It's okay to hold back on it. It's okay to have control over it. Nothing wrong with that.
Money and time. I mean, if you don't have to work and you have access to money, I mean, in active addiction, That's gasoline to that wildfire. So,
Oh my Lord Almighty! Yeah.
oh my God. Well, you can clock out for the rest of the day, Kevin. I think you've done enough. So we'll do this each and every week. Keep the questions coming, and if there's someone mentioned that we don't necessarily get into our stories all that much, and so I think we'll do more of that. But if there's anything particular, we'll just ask us. Like, we're both open books, so.
Oh yeah, no, I'm happy to share my story. I'm happy.
You don't need to end with a question. Just kind of ask us our story or anything like. If there's a certain topic, sky's the limit for us. Obviously, as you can tell by this show, there's 0 rules and no one really watching over us, so we can do whatever we want. So
no filter.
Kevin, we'll see you next week.
Right on, brother.
No one's watching us, Kevin. That's the scary part.
I know.
So,